The chair sees that there is a quorum present. And we'll do the flags. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, 2.0, additions and revisions to the agenda. Do you have anything?
No.
I don't have anything. Okay. 3.0, correspondence and public comment. Individuals wishing to address the county court may do so at this time and at other times throughout the meeting. Speakers are asked to raise your hand to be recognized by the chair, give your name and address, and limit comments to 3 minutes. Any public comments? I don't see any. Maybe something later, feel free to raise your hand and interject. Correspondence, I just wanted to note, I won't read this fully, but we did get the final report from the Chamber of Commerce regarding the Small Business Stabilization Grant Program. So for those in the audience or those watching at home, that will be posted to the website. So if you want to see where the money went, all that kind of stuff, it's all laid out in here, and there's some good feedback from the business community on just what they saw during sort of the middle of the shutdown during the pandemic and some of the challenges going forward. So I thought that was well done, very thorough, and so if folks are interested, that is on the website. Consent agenda.
Any questions on the consent agenda? I move to accept the consent agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda, which consists of consider approval of June 3rd regular meeting minutes, consider approval of amendment and extension to the Justice Court rental agreement, consider approval of intergovernmental agreement for cable funding of the Arlington Public Library, consider approval of homestead rebate program payment for fiscal year 2020-2021, and consider approval of application from Vic Rolfe for activities in Gilliam County rights of way. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we are into old business. Just catch up here. Our unfinished business. 5.1 is consider Arlington TV cooperative request for delay of loan repayment. Do you want to come up? While you're coming. Is John going to be here? I talked to him.
Well, yeah, I'm not surprised they were down the office, they are going to be here. This is what's quickly done.
We can move fast.
So
So what we could do, if you guys want, is we could wait and go into new business, and then when John comes, we can go back up to 5.1. Does that work for you guys? Okay. Yeah, we catch people off guard all the time, but that consent agenda goes a lot faster than people think it will. So under new business, we'll go into 6.1, which is consider approval of resolution number R 2020-18, transferring appropriations in fiscal year 2019-2020 budget. So this is basically, Nathan's here to kind of walk us through it if you have questions. But in essence, the general road fund was overexpended by $700,000 due to a paving project at Brown Road. And so we need to do a transfer in order to make sure that fund remains in balance. So basically the resolution would be authorizing a transfer of appropriations from the reserves and special payments over into materials and services to cover that cost overrun.
We're doing this backwards. Are we doing this backwards? Should we not be
Well, it should have been,
done before the paving?
right. It should have been anticipated for the paving, because the other project that was in the reserves and special payments did not occur. So they decided to do a Brown Road project instead. So it would have been proper to do it the other way around.
I have a question on the, and I think it might just be typo if I'm not reading it right. But it says resource reserves and special payments. The requirement is reserves and services, but aren't they like requirements?
Technically, yes, but since this is appropriation rate transfer, you have to have someplace to take it from, so that's a resource, and then we're moving it to the other one.
But aren't they both, I mean, I didn't see.
They're both expensive, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. So, because I didn't see that on the resources side of.
Yeah, it's a little confusing. Well, you have to have, I mean, it is a resource, technically, we're decreasing that amount by 700,000, we're increasing the other one by 700,000.
But they are both expenses.
They're both expense line items in the budget.
Okay, if you're okay with it, I'm okay with it. I just want to make sure.
Yep, no, let's get clarification.
Thank you.
Additional questions for Nathan on this?
I move to approve resolution number R 2020-18 as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution number R 2020-18 as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, budget is wrapped up. Let's go into 6.2, which is consider approval of resolution number R 2020-19, adopting an FTA, which is Federal Transit Administration procurement policy. Okay, so a little bit of background here. Public transportation receives financial assistance from the Federal Transit Administration. And this is usually, these funds usually come in through ODOT. So our contracts with ODOT often incorporate federal funds that have come in through ODOT and then are passed through into our special transportation department. So typically we use some of our ADA compliant vehicles, bus barn upgrades, those kinds of things related to the grants that Marla brings in. We do not have a policy in place to ensure, so our procurement policy is written to ensure that we are in compliance with state law. It does not ensure that we are in compliance with federal procurement law. And there's some differences between the two. And so in areas where we are spending federal funds, like with special transportation, ODOT has flagged that as a concern that our policy, that we don't have a policy in place basically to ensure that those federal funds are meeting the federal and state procurement requirements. And so they are requiring us to adopt a policy to make sure that that we stay in compliance with their contracts, and that's important to them as well because that affects their contract with the federal government. ODOT sent us a draft because, as you can see, it's a 40-some page policy and it's very dry. Those that don't have a copy in the audience, you are not missing anything. And so this came from ODOT, the county's legal counsel over at Local Government Law Group. There's an attorney over there named Carolyn Connolly, who this is her specialty is procurement law. So she took this, went through it, and then gave some comments back to ODOT about some areas where the policy was a little vague, and their compliance review team then took a second look at the draft, sent us back comments, and then this is the final product that council, ODOT, everybody seems to be okay with. So, and then it's important, I just want to note on the record that the policy that we're looking at today is only for those procurements that are being, that involve FTA, Federal Transit Administration funds. So, so any other procurements that we do still fall under the current county procurement policy, yeah, and this doesn't impact that policy at all. Questions about it?
I didn't.
It's all legalese in
Yeah,
there,
it is.
so,
Like you say, with very dry.
this one, they just had to trust the lawyers on this.
Yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
So I move to approve resolution number R 2020-19 as presented. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve resolution number R 2020-19 as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Okay. Moving right along, 6.3 is consider approval of resolution number R 2020-20, adopting a cybersecurity policy. So this, we currently, like so many things, do not have a cybersecurity policy in place, which is a best practice for ensuring that all of the data that we store, so our tax rolls, all those kinds of things, as well as just our technology systems are protected from outside attacks. And so I mean, if you've been watching the news, not recently, because there's been a lot of other things dominating the news right now, but municipalities are seeing an uptick in cyber attacks where people are using malware and other things to come in and sort of hold data ransom and systems ransom. And so we've been talking, and John's here today, about increasing the county's cyber security insurance so that if something were to happen, we're covered in order to be able to pay ransoms and get our data back. But in order to do that, we need to have a cybersecurity policy in place. That's a requirement from our insurance provider. So the attached policy came to us from CIS, and then it was reviewed and modified by Kelly Smith, our IT coordinator. Lisa took a look at it as well, and then went back to John and CIS to make sure that everything was kosher. And so basically, it's just covering sort of best practices on things that we need to be doing internally to make sure that we're protecting systems, safeguarding social security numbers, those kinds of things that are potentially at risk in the county, so that we can try to prevent attacks in the first place and then have coverage if something does happen. Questions about it? Or John, did I miss anything that you want to?
Well, it's a requirement, if you want to procure higher limits of coverage, you're given $50,000 currently, and then more can be purchased up to $1 million. The good reason that you're looking at this, CIS is seeing 1 to 2 of these claims per month now. It's a hot trend for these hackers. And what they do is they put a crypto locker into your system, they shut you out and say, send us X amount of Bitcoin. I don't understand all this. X amount of Bitcoin, and then they'll release your data back to them. One that hit the spotlight was one in Tillamook County. So they were out of pocket around $60,000 to just pay the ransom. The reason they're paying the ransom is because the game that these hackers are playing is so off the charts smart. They're very good at what they do. The cost of recovery and to circumvent paying the ransom is good. You've got 2 things. One is the ransom, and 2 is if you can't pay the ransom, you've got to then secure all your data again and go out and protect those people whose information is now out there in the open. Very, very expensive.
And what level are we?
I've got options for you that I can present here.
Yeah, so that
On
would
the
be
next
next.
item.
First, we have to adopt our policy, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, we can't purchase the policy or the insurance policy without.
Yeah, here's the diligence showing that you've got, a policy in place and you're doing your due diligence before they're going to provide
Insurance.
Yeah.
Well, I move to adopt resolution number 2020-20 as presented.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 2020-20 as presented. Is there further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, John, let's go with you. And this is 6.4, which is review Wheatland insurance renewal proposal.
Yes. And then if you guys want to share it. I think if it's okay, I'd like to start with the cybersecurity since you're just talking about it.
Excellent.
In your docket, on one side, you'll see an application that will need to be signed now that you've adopted your policy. So that, along with this application that Lisa and Teresa have already prepared, once we have those, then we can move on to selecting a higher limit. So there should be a page in there with the Wheatland letterhead that shows cyber liability quote. So in your CIS packet, in your current policy, they're giving you $50,000 worth of coverage. Now these claims are going for $100,000 and above now. So my recommendation is to at least adopt the 200 which will give you 250,000, but there are higher options available. And the associated premium that goes with that. So.
I don't know, part of me, I mean, you get so much more coverage for what's a fairly small amount of money. I mean, what sort of, I mean, you said like the last one was maybe like 60,000, but is there sort of an average nationwide on what?
Well,
I mean, I've
there's
seen
some-
reports of like people who tried to get their data back through the tech side and spent millions on it.
So when we talk about this as a company, and we talk to clients outside of the public entity world, there's some big claim examples that have happened in the past. One was with Target, one was with Sony, where it was hundreds of millions of dollars to then go out and secure. You hear about this in the news every once in a while. Somebody was fraudulent and they stole all this personal data and hit the black market. And so then the companies, then it's their responsibility, it's their liability, their error to go out and, get those people's credit back and get their information back and secure it and make sure that they're not being taken advantage of. So in those cases, those are in the hundreds of millions of dollars. In this situation, obviously, you don't have hundreds of thousands, millions of people's data coming through the county, so you would be on the lower end of that spectrum, but it's very in that scenario. Again, what they are seeing are those, what they call crypto lockers, where they're locking you out and asking for ransom, and those are going now above the $100,000 mark. So.
I agree with what you're saying, for another $150 a year, right, you have the max, so I would go with that. For $400. Right. Well, no, I was just comparing between level 2 and level 3. I don't know where to do.
She's
I would
thinking-
jump into 3.
So it sounds like we're interested in the $950,000
Sure.
limit at the 1550.
Okay.
Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, so that would give you even $1 million.
Right.
Yeah.
For
And then hopefully
$100.
nobody's watching this, it's a hacker on YouTube. So, on this application, then Elizabeth, and commissioners, we want to mark the $950,000 option
Okay.
and then sign that, then return to me. There's going to be some more signatures on the rest of the CIS, all in one.
Okay. We still have that.
Okay. You guys have any questions about that?
No, I think I'm here. No.
Do we need a motion to authorize you to sign that, or?
I think we can do a total, if you guys want to do just one motion there.
I'm going to adopt the CIS renewal along with the additional limits.
Yeah, okay.
So also in your packet is your regular CIS property and casualty renewal. Your workers' compensation, just to give you an update. Last year I moved it to Safe Corporation, and that was about a $30,000 savings, and so premiums stayed basically flat on that. So we're about $60,000 ahead in savings in the last 2 years, which is great. And then into the bad news, right? CIS took a pretty good rate increase this year, particularly on property, 14%, I believe 7% on liability. At the annual conference, and I've expressed this to some of the staff already, they're predicting an upward trend for a while now. So and that goes with the rest of insurance. It's what they call a hard market right now. Things are just not looking very optimistic. So the CIS does great. They do everything they can, but there was a substantial increase on particularly property. So that being said, coverage has been the same. I've met with all department heads. We've reviewed the equipment schedules, the auto schedules, made the needed updates. And so as far as what we're covering and how we're covering it, that's all up to date and ready to go.
Questions for John?
I didn't have any questions.
So you'll see if you do move to approve, Liz, there's about 5 signatures required. and then one for the center.
That's what I count on Teresa to give me those little stickers. Sign here, sign here, sign here.
I don't see anything jumping out at me.
So we would be looking then for a motion to approve the property and liability proposal summary for the upcoming fiscal year, along with the increase in the cyber liability to $950,000.
So that's just I move to adopt, the CIS insurance renewal?
I think you could just say, I move to adopt, well, you know what, I'll make the motion.
Okay, come on.
I'll move to approve the CIS property and liability proposal renewal, insurance renewal for fiscal year 2020-2021, and to also add the cyber liability at the $950,000 limit.
And I would say,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the CIS property and liability insurance proposal for fiscal year 2020-2021, and also add the $950,000 limit for the cyber liability. Further discussion?
is there some, cyber liability already included?
50,000.
50,000.
Yeah, so that's why it's staggered like that, so you get 250, 500,000.
So I'll give us an even million then. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we'll get everything signed and back to you. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, do we have an ETA on John yet?
Well, Dave is here too.
Yeah, I thought he was right behind me.
Oh.
Is that why we were waiting? Inside voice, sorry. Yeah, I assumed he was.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourself. Remember.
Because I'll go into staff reports otherwise, but those would be more lengthy, so I thought if he's around, we could jump back up to 5.1, and now we could go into 6.5. We'll just take a little. You guys get that to connect with, so I think we're probably, it'll be on the online version. If the service doesn't have that connectivity, we discovered. Oh, really? Yes, it's very good. Extension.
Are you on the internet face thing?
I know.
Okay.
Have you not, David? Maybe he's leaving you guys how to drive, you two.
No, we can talk about anything. I noticed your agenda changed.
Yeah.
You pulled out the consideration, but I was just curious, well, we're gonna push that to another date.
Yes, so for those who are here and thought you were going to hear us talk about the special projects grant,
Yeah.
those will be coming, I think, on July 1.
I filled as much time as I could, so. I can talk about other things if you like. Our ambulance is awesome. We haven't had any COVID things here.
Yay.
How about the doctors?
What do you guys think? Do you want to go into staff reports?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
we'll go into staff reports. And do you guys need a second to get the tech up? We're gonna have our tech folks get everything up, all the staff comes up. And we're doing all three together, like we did last time. So family services, planning, and senior services. We're all in the same bubble. Right? The courthouse bubble.
That's right.
So while the tech is getting set up, this is just a reminder, kind of the process that we're using now for these, which is we'll have staff come in twice a year, and they work with Lisa ahead of time to kind of really try to give you guys an overview of some of the things that some of the highlights from the past, but then also give us an opportunity to look and have a preview of what is coming up for some of the departments. So, you guys ready?
Yes.
So,
Meeting is ready to, so.
perfect. So I'm thinking we'll go in the direction on here and start with family services.
So just a quick intro, you should have a copy of the PowerPoint presentation in your pack. So staff will be using these to just sort of guide the conversation. So had your item briefing, look back at 2019. This particular presentation was intended for March 18th, but we all remember that day all too well, and we went into our COVID operations. So we're back to deliver not only that presentation, but also some departments more than others to give you an update on what we've been doing through the pandemic. It's a little different to normal operations. So, staff reports today, we have Teddy Fenner of Family Services Department, our Family Services Coordinator. We have Senior Services Department, our Senior Services Coordinator, Sabrina Wagner, and Planning Department Director, Michelle Colby. And so I'm going to hand it over right now to Teddy to take it away on Family Services.
Hi. All right. So I know some of it has changed a little bit, but I'm just going to start out with Four Rivers Early Learning Hub. So this is some opportunities that we are going to be looking at as getting some new funding potentially through the Student Success Act. And that gives us maybe a little bit of opportunities for our early care and education programs to receive in some more income and potentially help with them becoming a little more sustainable. That's to be seen still. It's not 100% all finished. And then excuse me, the Early Learning Hub is also going to be partnering with GOBI and EOCCO to work on some parenting education program in Gilliam County. And we've started that a little bit with having our first meeting of a steering committee, and we're trying to pull the correct partners together and work on it. What do we want it to look like in our county? So we're just in the early stages of that. So then I'm just gonna go ahead and move on here. Our Frontier Veggie RX program is going extremely well. This is a program that we sort of prescribe, as we call it, an RX. It's for food insecure families that assess positive after you ask them a couple of questions, and if they qualify for the program, they will get a couple of booklets per family. They're $30 each, and a household can get up to 2 if there's more than one in the household. And that is so that they can go to our local grocery stores and get fresh fruits and vegetables for those coupons. And currently, and this is all of Gilliam County together, as of May, I was serving 90 households, which came out to be 206 people total in those households. So I think that that's helping a lot with food insecurity right now with our families, especially with the COVID that's happening.
And then two, well, one quick point too, is just if you could maybe talk about where the funding for that.
Oh, yes, yes. So that was part of my next slide that I was going to move into. And that is actually, it's a program that's funded through our local community advisory council to the EOCCO. And so they have money that is given out to each of the counties' local community advisory councils to do something around the health and welfare of the people in our community. And it's to target mainly families that are receiving organ health plan services, but that's not the only families that can receive it. We're serving the whole community, so you do not have to be a Medicaid client to receive those services. You just have to assess positive for the program.
One of the things too that's come up in the LCAC related to this too is because that's sort of driving local demand for fruits and vegetables, I think that's allowed our local grocery stores to stock a wider variety. So that for the rest of us who are not using them, you know, if you notice there's a pretty good variety in the store. I think a lot of that's being driven that folks who would normally maybe forego purchasing fresh fruits and vegetables because of cost, we now able to access those, and that allows our local businesses to carry more variety for everyone.
Yeah, and I was just going to say that the value, the dollar value of the booklets just for May was $4,380. And so that, again, goes back into the local community. We make sure that the people in the program have to redeem them locally. You can't go to the Dallas or anything and do that. So it is helping to keep the dollars in the community, and again, to really get it kept up and lots of fruits and vegetables for everybody.
So if families aren't in the organ health plan, then how do you identify those that may be, and how do they come to learn about the program?
Right, so we've done a little bit of marketing, just having some brochures out there and things just in different flyers, different areas, different community meetings. I've also gone to food pantries and senior milk sites, and just word of mouth. People call me and say, hey, I've heard about this program. Can we take the assessment? Can we see if we qualify? There's been really a lot of word of mouth, more than I think any of the publications that have gone out, because people say, ooh, this is wonderful. I think hey Lisa, you should go talk to them about the program. So, and it just, it all depends how the assessment goes on whether you qualify. It's not an income limit and like that. So
It looks like my numbers for the last couple of years, it just continues to grow.
it does, yeah. So
Do you think that's just because people are more aware of it, or do we have more families that are in need?
I think partially both. We've definitely been able to get the word out a little more, and more people are realizing that there is more assistance to them. Say they go to the food bank, and then if somebody says, hey, there's this program, or I've gone to the food banks and gave everybody the assessment. So it's universal, it's across the board. We assess everybody. And some of them qualify, some of them don't. But I think also there has been a little more need recently where, the numbers aren't extreme on the, from January, I was serving 81 families to May, serving 90. June, I think maybe one or two more, but we've had a few families leave, so it sort of evens out a little bit. Okay, so then, that is one of the programs that comes out of the local community advisory council. Additionally, the parent education program, that's the other partnership from the early learning hub. Again, we're also trying to work with improving some relationships locally with healthcare providers, speaking with them more, trying to attend some of their meetings, just being a better partnership, basically, so we can have their input. Their input's very important to, obviously, the health of the community. They're providing that for us. Public health is a big partnership as well. They have paid for some grant projects to do some things in our community, and we found out that that grant did not get approved, but they have the opportunity to work closely with OHSU to make the necessary improvements to that grant, because they really want to help all of the public health departments that put in for it to be able to receive those funds. And we're just working with our community health improvement plan on the items that have been identified as issues, and food insecurity was one of them. And early childhood is another, which we work with our early learning hub, and oral health. Another one, we do have a virtual dental project, and they are working out of the North Gilliam Health District and providing those services there. And they have a dental hygienist that comes in, and she does everything digitally, takes all the pictures of the client's mouth, and it goes off to the dentist. The dentist can look at everything and say that they are either good to go and they have no cavities, no problems, or they can identify those problems. They can refer them on to the dentist, or there are some minor things that the dental hygienist can do to work on that plan as well.
What's the schedule? How often is the dental hygienist in? What's that?
She was going to be here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Dave's going to
Dave.
She hasn't been, Ashley is phenomenal, by the way.
Yes.
And so she was coming in every Monday. We've set aside a treatment room so she can put her stuff in there, and her X-ray machine, which is like that. She's moving to Thursday though, because of some childcare things. So once a month usually, as more and more people hear about it and start accessing it, that room is set aside for her, so we will give her our operations at all. And the last time that I spoke with her, some of the basic things Teddy was talking about, they have a kind of a new program where they can have some more expanded things going on. And that is really exciting. One thing that is kind of down is when she does come back starting Thursday, she has to have a second employee come from Hermiston to ask them COVID questions, when I'm already paying Michelle, and she could do the same thing, but their rule say it has to be one of their employees. So that's the only thing, and that's going to be an impact on them, I'm afraid, and they might say it's getting very expensive. So I tell you that so you can say there are always options. But she is phenomenal. We haven't heard anything bad. She really is awesome, and the service is phenomenal.
She also does a lot of the, she'll go into the schools as well, so she does the she'll do dental screenings for.
Yeah, it goes into both of our schools and our childcares and works with them. And then the final thing that I was just going to mention is I am the coordinator for the Condon Food Pantry, and just from March, we were serving 47 families, and in May, we served 82 families, which equated 178 people in those families, but the number went up drastically. The way that we have to provide those services as well has changed a lot and entailing a ton more work. We had where, same as Arlington, you come in and you do this little shopping style, you kind of went around, you were able to say, yes, I want this, or no, I don't want that, and they offer it to you, but now we have to pre-box everything and try and make sure that one household gets what they're supposed to get in a household of 6, which is, much different. We go by numbers and how much people get. So it's almost individualized, basically, when the numbers are very different in family size. So there's a lot of work that's going into it. And given the COVID stuff, we've really made sure that we have not a ton of volunteers just running around either. So it's down to a few basic volunteers that are working very hard to help the program succeed. And I know that they're doing the same thing in Arlington. Their numbers have stayed fairly close. In March, they were 28 families. April, they had 35, so they went up quite a bit. And then May, they went down for some reason. Their assumption was because you were getting more money in the SNAP benefits, and maybe that people were getting the money from the government, the stimulus, okay, so the stimulus dollars, but yeah, so they're kind of fluid, moving around a bit, and we're just increasing. And I can say right now that I know June is going to be even more families per comment. We've had more call and get signed up.
How far ahead do you know, so that you have the supplies you need?
So they send me what they call a picking list with Capco, who serves us, and says, here's what I can offer you. And then, so tomorrow will be when my truck comes in, and then Monday will be when we do our distribution. And it's the same type of situation. It comes on a Thursday, and Arlington delivers theirs or distributes theirs on a Monday as well.
And then there's in terms of the screening for the families, so how, if a family wants to access that service, what's the process that they go through?
Yeah, so they asked me, and I obviously forgot on one of those pages today to show you, but there are income limits. And actually in March of this year, not even really to do with COVID, but it went up. So a family of 1 can make $3,192 or 90, right in there, dollars to qualify to receive services from the food pantry. And then it goes up $600 or $800 per person. Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head, but
that's fine.
so yeah, there is an income limitation on that, and we can't say that I see your pay stub. It's on an honor system, so they sign a sheet, which I'm doing right now, verbally saying that, do you qualify? Here's what you have to qualify at, and they say yes, and then we sign them in right now currently, but it's honor system, so. But yeah, we've bought a lot of additional food supplies for the condiment food pantry right now. I think this month have maybe purchased about $1,000 extra. And we have had some donations made to the food pantry from our community, which has been wonderful. But yeah, we're kind of going through the one money. Right, so,
Makes sense.
sorry, I've probably taken up a lot of time.
And you'll hear a repeated theme as we go through the staff reports of how departments have had to change their operational processes to accommodate the COVID guidance. And of course, that's increasing labor burden on them to facilitate that at a time when perhaps we're losing some of our volunteers. They may be in the groups whereby they need to self-isolate and stay healthy.
Yeah.
So it is an extra burden on staff to take up that slack and continue to provide at even higher rates. So just something to bear in mind.
Do you have questions for
Thank
Dave?
you for the invitation.
Oh, yes.
I'll be there.
Great.
If I wanted to go to the Arlington, because I'm not gonna be, I can't come over to Con on Monday, but if I wanted to go to the Arlington, do I just need to get a hold of like Claire Cowan or?
Kara Cowan or Kay West. Yeah, they're a week ahead of us. So, they would have distributed their stuff this Monday. So,
But next month.
but I can, link you guys in for their schedule for next month. Yeah, for sure.
And can you also just briefly, since we're now into the summer in our youth program, maybe you can
Yes,
share
I should have.
the-
Sorry.
That's fine, but I mean, the other place that we're seeing a huge uptick in interest in services is in the youth employment.
Yes, so we actually had 38 applications from kids this year, youth. And we are potentially going to serve every one of them. We just got a crew leader for our OYCC program, and they are going to get started next week. And so we'll have one crew leader and 6 youth there. And that's going to be a combination of Condon Arlington kids. And then I have about 16-ish, have all my numbers with me, but not, of kids in Arlington that I'm going to be meeting with and businesses to get them all lined out and placed, and they'll get started right after July 1st. So
And have you found enough places to place people, or do we need to
I-
put out a call for people who may be interested in someone?
I think I've got placements. I may need to look at 1 or 2 more in Arlington, and some of the places have decided not to work with us this year due to certain circumstances with COVID, or they, for instance, just hired somebody and they feel like having youth stand around and twiddle their thumbs, you know, because they want to keep people busy. They don't want to, excuse me. So yeah, we're looking at that, and 38 is probably the most applications that I've had in a long time.
What's an average number for you?
So last year, I think I had 25 kids that we served, and this is, you know, the whole county. So, and we really try as hard as we can to serve everybody who applies. So,
Tony?
Who do they contact besides Kate?
For,
I get the questions all the time, and I don't know how to respond.
for the food pantry, yes, Kara Cowan is somebody that they could contact, Judy Galvin, Kay West.
Can I get your card before you leave?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's also relevant because I think we'll probably be looking, when we passed the budget, we passed it assuming we were going to have similar numbers to last year. And so we have more, obviously more people to accommodate that. For folks who are watching at home, the county covers the cost for the youth to be employed. And so we'll have Nathan look at the numbers later to see if but we may need to adjust those up. So just so you're aware, if that's what the adjustment is coming from, is we just didn't anticipate we would have sort of a huge number of kids interested. So,
And then additionally, because of the COVID, I'm not going to receive the $13,000 that was the OYCC grant from the state, because of the fact that it's lottery funded, and the lottery was shut down for quite some time. They're not getting the money that they thought they were. So we have to hold off on that for this year.
Any other questions for Hetty?
I don't know.
I just have to commend her. I mean, you'll see, but I think our staff has really stepped up in the middle of this pandemic to meet huge community needs. So, well done. Thank you. Thank you, Hetty. All right, should we go on? And I see next, our agenda is different than our slides, so I'm assuming we need to go to Sabrina next. Is that right?
It would make the slide easier.
Okay, so
So
we'll go to Sabrina next, give her senior services.
All right. So one of the things that I had proposed is doing a wellness health fair. The purpose would be for helping seniors to live a healthier life, connecting them in community healthcare providers, provide simple healthcare screenings. My intentions was to do something like an October with this, but as we are now, the world came to an abrupt change in one day. So hopefully this spring we can get something together. And
Come on, vaccine.
I
That's
know.
what we're after.
Yeah, so that's kind of put the brakes on us in a lot of ways. And then also I'm in the process of becoming a Shiva counselor, senior health insurance benefits assistant. It's a 3-part training to become a counselor. You have to do like online training, internships, and then like a 2-day volunteer training, under the guidance of certified counselors. That's kind of been put on hold too, a little bit as a one-day life change. And it's turned into something different.
Something else got to sign up.
So if you want to be the first guinea pig to go through that. And then we have the meal sites, oversee Condon and Arlington. We are fully staffed. Now we have a new cook in Condon, and I invite all of you to come and attend. Arlington meal sites are on Tuesdays, but we can't have you come to the meals unless you want to come help. We take your help too. So, and as I've been told by CAPCO, that the meal sites will not be able to get back together until there's a vaccine, or phase 3 is what I was told. So that means vaccine. So Arlington, we deliver meals in Arlington every Tuesday. When this started, we were approximately doing like 30 meals a week, and now we're up to about 45 or so that we're delivering weekly. And then in Condon, we were like approximately 45 to 50 a week, and now we're up to about 75 to 80 that we're delivering weekly. And we're doing door-to-door, and we just basically drop it and go. In Condon,
Some of those other things, like when you're doing a drop, are you maximizing that and including other things in those drops?
okay, as far as what we're doing.
Information.
Okay. So I have been doing like little packets, like getting it off the website of what, how many cases have been in different counties, just trying to keep them informed. I've been trying to do like word searches, crosswords for them, and I've told them that when we finally get back together, that if they all turn those in, then we'll put their names in for a drawing or something fun. Like around Easter, Darla donated some little knick-knack type stuff that we put into everybody's bag, so that everybody got something. I went this spring and cut flowers, daffodils, and wrapped them up in tissue paper and stuck those in everybody's bag, just kind of to share them up a little bit. And I think our phone calls have like really came up a lot. And I noticed like when we deliver, people like try to rush to get to their door, which we're trying to stay away from. But yet, it's like, we're like trying to run, so we're not, that close to them and stuff. But, just to be able to see their faces and them see us and communicate, it's
That connection.
it's a drop and run thing, but we are making that connection. So yeah, and they've been very grateful that we've been doing that. So in Arlington, I come down every Tuesday and I deliver some of the meals, and then also we have volunteers down here that go and deliver the meals as well. Condon deliveries includes Nia, Marla, and myself. So it's either Nia or Marla, and then like I'll drive, and then we'll get through it. And then if neither one of those two are available, then I have volunteers. I have had some concern as far as our expenses, because we no longer we stopped doing the getting money from them, which a lot of people are worried about why they're not paying and stuff. But in the beginning, we were concerned about contact with money and the whole thing or whatever. So then county court then agreed that they wouldn't pay. But my expenses have gone up, and that wasn't taken into account in my budget for next year. So things might be a little tight. They might be getting crackers and water before this is all over.
Maybe they'll just make a note and we'll fix it. We'll fix it, no problem.
And I do have just on some of that, because the county funds the meal sites very heavily. So like for instance, say from it would have been like July 19th to say March, April. We took in from the door, and then the funding I get from CAPCO was around a little over $7,000. Our expenses are right around $19,000. So there's a big gap there. So therefore, we're thankful we have the county to help with some of that. And that was for that was for Condon. And then it kind of does the same thing in Arlington. We just don't get the money off of, because they don't have to pay for it if they're 60. It's a suggested donation. So there's a lot of people that do not pay. So yeah, so we do come up short there. And then also, does anybody have any questions?
I do have one. So, this could also be like a wellness check on these people. So do you know that they're wanting, I think what I've seen Kathy post is, if you don't want a meal, let us know, otherwise we're gonna bring you a meal.
So that's what I started like in Condon, and they've gotten that down here as well. So what I told them in the beginning is, I'm not gonna call you every week because I don't have time to call you every week. So if you got served a meal, you're on my list and you're gonna get a meal. So if you're not gonna be home, you need to contact me. And then if you're gone to, like I have people that are gone to doctor's appointments. So if they're writing on transportation, I know that. So then a lot of them are like, well, just set it in my refrigerator, or I'll hold it until what, so it just depends on the person, so. So a lot of those, we do cater to that too as well. If we know they're gonna be gone, then I hold it and then get it to them once they get home. Yeah, and the same thing, like I said, they're kind of doing it in Arlington, because I think we're calling every week, and I'm like, no, let's,
But you do make sure once you drop and run that somebody's coming to pick up.
Yeah, usually they're like, yeah. So if we drive back around, yeah, I should put a warning, if you see three sacks sitting out.
Right.
So if next week when we come back and that sack's still there, we probably should go do a welfare.
Yeah, or if it's spread all.
The dog got it, yeah. So is there any other questions on?
Well, that's part of my question, is what you did when if somebody wasn't home. But who's someone contacting Arlington if they want, if they're new and they want to sign up?
So they can call me, or there's Bobby or Kathy as well.
And Sabrina also did things like, and I'll put a plug in, that Gilliam County, we gotta get our census return in, folks. If you've not done that, please do that. But Sabrina took the initiative and reached out to a lot of our senior population, because we were concerned that if the census was sending people door to door, that was gonna put those people potentially at risk. And so Sabrina took the initiative and was helping, people fill out.
Yeah, so I did, I
census.
took like the Condon, like my list in Condon of everybody that we talked to, with the meal site or whatever, so I had that information. And then Arlington, so I went through Condon's list and I contacted everybody, so I have a list of like who I contacted, and then a lot of them I filled it out for them. I just had it on my computer. And then they gave me their information, I did the survey, I printed it out, the little thing at the end, and then the next week when I deliver their meals, I just put that in the meals form, so they have that verification that they did it. And then I started doing Arlington's, but then it was like the time that the census said they were coming back into the community, so I haven't like completed that, so after you guys talked, I need to figure out if I need to do that.
They were due to come back in and chat with Teddy and I and a few others this week. I don't know why, but they haven't postponed that, and so we're still waiting for them to reschedule. They wanted to come and perhaps discuss some more marketing, promotional materials before they actually start doing door to door. So we're just waiting on that time right now.
But I had good response when I called them. I know a lot of them were just like, well, I don't want, you know, but it was very short.
Yeah.
You know, because then there was always the question of, you know, is there more than one or two people living in your house? And it's like, and then I just say something like, are you sure you don't have somebody else living there that we don't know about? You know, so I can make them laugh, and, you know, just to, you know, cheer up their day. Other things, yeah, it's like, are you making somebody in here? You know, so. And then also, just in an effort to try to keep people in their homes, transportation and senior services, we've done the mail, groceries, and prescription pickups. Just trying to keep them, you know, at home. And then the masks, I had over 20 volunteers, and we had run like over 300, like 370 through Carrie's autoclave, but from just other people, like Arlington people that I never did get masks from, and then other people in Condon that have made masks, I figure the volunteers in Gilliam County did over 1,500 masks. So any of those that I have gotten, I like offered it out to the meal site people that I was in contact with, as far as if they needed masks. A lot of that, those people did not come forward wanting them. I did deliver some of them. So then I ended up taking them to the Arlington post office and to Two Boys.
And just about 30 special order.
Yeah, see, so yeah, I figure we're over 1,500 masks. I figured the Gilliam County is made, so.
And we got masks for the food pantry volunteers and stuff as well.
So yeah, so I think we're moving forward.
Again, I just have to commend them because overnight, it was like, okay, we're shutting down transportation and now you guys need to meet basically any community need for this group that we want to try to keep safe, and they have risen to the occasion.
I really thought it would be a time that we would be able to clean our office and get it all organized. As I walk in this morning, it looks like it hit harder.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's just the whole COVID thing, and like I said, I've been very brave and on the front line or whatever, but when this whole thing first started, I just told everybody, I said, okay, I'm gonna be brave and upfront, but I said, the minute there's a case in Gilliam County, I'm probably gonna go home. I'm glad that we're
COVID free.
We're COVID-free, so.
Community.
Can I add something, Jeff? Sure. Just to, again, to the transportation department, one of Sabrina's seniors had a 90th birthday. And so she made a cake and arranged a drive-through horn parade and had balloons for her. And it kept the seniors really feeling like they were safe and included. And I thought that was really lovely.
That's a 90+ gift.
Yeah.
We're not setting any precedent.
She was 90.
That's 90.
Yeah.
Usually most of our 90-year-olds are not on YouTube.
Yeah.
Was that true?
No,
I
think she's 93.
How many masks did Shirley make?
So I had heard like around 300.
And that old singer song.
Yeah. And I know like Donna Bates also was another one that she sewed a lot and then she cut out a lot and gave me those to give to people. And then like Tree Beaston, she's still sewing, bless her heart. I think most people are over it. And I
It's fun for a while.
It's time to move on.
It was fun to say which fabric, you've been fabric.
Any other questions for Sabrina?
I don't have any children.
Yeah, a question on the transportation. I'm still waiting for some sleep.
You're gonna have to come to a meeting that we're not having.
Common people rave about her cooking.
Excellent.
The question is, who gave the directive to Marla or Sabrina that when we take people down to different cities for their medical appointments, that once they're finished, they can't shop? Absolutely cannot go shopping. And it's our volunteer time. We don't make the rules, but if you're going 50 miles out of town because there's things you can't get at locally, why can't they shop? And who gave Marla and Sabrina that order?
That's my call.
Pardon me?
That's my call. And the reason behind it, honestly, is because particularly when we reopened, Wasco County and Wasco County continues to have active cases, some of which they're not able to track. And so what we wanted to do is we prioritized essential medical appointments first, with the idea that if I allow somebody into a grocery store, I mean, I know when they go to a medical appointment that there are certain protocols in place to make sure that the person coming in is safe, that the staff is safe. If I send them into a grocery store, I can't guarantee that they won't pick up something there and infect you and everybody else who rides in the car on the way back.
You can't guarantee it with a medical facility anyway.
I mean, I get it, but it's the county's liability. And so we're trying to make sure that when we're providing that service, that we are protecting the people that we're transporting and our volunteers to make sure, because if I have an outbreak, that means nobody's getting a ride out of here. And so for the foreseeable future, we have to make some of these kinds of accommodations, particularly because the people we are transporting are exactly the people who would be most at risk if they contracted the disease. And I personally, I can't on my conscience take that kind of risk with our employees, our volunteers, or the people that we transport.
It would seem to be that you're not taking the risk for the drivers, but that the drivers would be taking the risk.
The county insures you, so the county is also taking the risk. We're providing the service. We have a responsibility to you, and we have a responsibility to our employees and to everybody that uses that system. And so,
how do you expect the people that live 50 miles away from either city to get their food? I mean, a minor thing, you gotta eat.
Can I jump in there and share that one service they have been providing is if people need to get food and they want to call ahead, like to the Walmart, and put in their online order, that transportation will do a curbside pickup of those.
But they need to call the office and schedule.
Yeah, they need to schedule it with the ladies in the transportation office, and they need to take care of making the virtual order themselves.
Those pickups are a wonderful idea, and I have several clients that have done, and they're very helpful, but it doesn't work for everybody's needs.
I get that. I think, again, we're all in this situation where we need to look out for each other. And so that's going to mean for a period of time, people have to adjust what they're doing in order to make sure that we don't bring it back into this community. I mean, part of the reason we don't have things, COVID in the community right now, is that this community has been very thoughtful about the personal choices that they're making in terms of not, basically following social distancing and being frankly really creative with how we can continue to serve without risking each other's health.
When does it go back to what it used to be?
If you have the answer, tell us. I think there are millions of people right now who are asking that same question. And so I think we're all rooting for those people who are creating vaccines right now. As soon as we can move into that, obviously we will, but we just can't take the risk.
So is it possible that they could shop in counties where it's not great. Like if you avoid Wasco County and they go to,
That works too.
Like Umatilla County's just as bad.
Umatilla County has an outbreak too. Basically, everybody around, I mean, if you
What-
saw,
what
You could go to Wheeler County.
just as an example, I mean, I'm just gonna give an example. I
But
mean,
they're not gonna.
Union County is a prime example of a county that had very few cases, and in the last 2 days had 200. So, I mean, they're making, if you've been on Portland News, you've seen Union County, which never is on Portland News, for all the wrong reasons, because they didn't take this seriously. So Dave, in that.
I've been trying to be very good for a few minutes. So as, you know, and I understand what Tony's saying, but as a medical person, anybody here been to Portland recently? Arlington or the Dallas? Wow, that's cool. Okay. Statistically, if anyone in this room had been to Portland, someone in this room has it. Just talking numbers. You won't know. You might be asymptomatic, might be a carrier. So your statement of, as a driver, you know, I'm taking that risk, you're not. You might get exposed while you run into the bathroom or get fuel or whatever, and you're gonna bring it back. You may never even know it. And so I agree with, I think they're horrible, but I agree with the decisions you have to make, because it's not just, you know, my choice if I take someone in. You have to think that, you know, being a public servant and being a volunteer driver, you're gonna potentially expose other people. And if they did get exposed at the clinic, and then they come back and then they do go into Walmart, now they're exposing others. It doesn't seem fair, it doesn't seem the right thing to do, but we have to do it to be safe. And I'm not one of the people that, everybody stay back, we have to do this forever. But right now, especially as long as the numbers are going up, you have to take some over the top, sometimes seemingly not cool, you know, steps. And I haven't seen my kids in months. That sucks for me. But I'm not going to Portland, because if I come back, the ambulance, the health district, and the clinic, and now you guys, are just gone, you know, down to the count. So you deserve it. You are mean me. But I mean, I just want to say, I understand, and you're making the right decision, not that you're wrong, but sometimes you have to, you know, you get big bucks, you have to make the big decisions. So that's why, and it's not just one person, but we have to think about everybody. So I'm not sick, I'm
I just wanted to point out that in the same sort of a situation like he's talking, I did help somebody that was actually an Arlington person. You know, they were really worried, they couldn't go to town. We connected them specifically with somebody from the Arlington Food Pantry. They were able to get some food, even though it was not a distribution day. We can make those situations happen. That's always an option. And I think that's probably why numbers are going up. People are not going out of town. They're saying, well, food costs more in Arlington or Condon. So that's how we're helping to navigate that situation. They might be able to get a meal from Sabrina. They might be able to get some food from the food pantry. Then they might be able to get some Frontier Veggie RX. Then they can, you know, buy their groceries in town where it might cost a little more, but all the other assistance they're getting is going to make it through the month, so they're not going hungry. We are really making sure that people are not going hungry. So
Because I know, like, even in our
And
tree
also, I'd like to put this on tape, I can't say enough about the people from Capitol that come down here that work
Yeah.
with your people.
Yeah, it's a great partnership. Yeah. Okay, shall we move on to planning?
Yes.
Michelle, you're up. Okay.
Quite as controversial.
There's nothing controversial about planning ever. I would probably never ever say that statement. That's okay, that's just my view. So the county court did receive in the packet the briefing that was dated back in March. There's a few things that I just wanted to touch on real quick on that briefing. In the briefing, I was talking about the Montague Wind Farm, just to give the court an update of where that's moving forward. That's that big project that was constructed in 2019 up there on Shetland Flat, going east, north direction. It is operational. It was out there operational at the end of 2019. They do have a phase 2. Phase 2 is being, there's another amendment. This project was cited through Oregon Department of Energy, the Energy Facility Siting Council, and the current owner has submitted what's referred to as Amendment Number 5. I think the court was involved in about 2017-18. There was a hearing, we call that the Hotel Condon, regarding Amendment Number 4. There's another amendment coming, and the hearing is slated for July. When I have a date, I will let the court know. It's looking right now at the middle of July for this Amendment 5. And what Amendment 5 will do is it's going to increase the footprint of the solar. So they came in originally under Amendment 4 for 1,900 acres of solar. This is going to increase the solar footprint. And they're also asking to break the solar into 2 different projects. And then they want to take that wind farm that was constructed in 2019 and make that an isolated project. So there's a whole lot of different things, and there's some other little minutia stuff that's included in the amendment. I will keep you informed, but there are changes coming. They're still slated to begin construction at the end of this year. So we're looking at the end of, approximately 4th quarter. I think COVID could play into that. We don't know how all that will work with all their construction workers and what's moving forward, but they're hopeful that construction will break ground in the 4th quarter of this year. If that changes, and we may know more when the hearing comes up too in next month in July. So I just wanted to give you a little update on that project. And then, so the first slide, I think I have these in order. I think it refers to the conditional use permit. Okay, Rich. So the conditional use permit, a slide, what I'm referring to is the solid waste landfill, known as Columbia Ridge Landfill and Recycling Center. This project went through a periodic review, and the county court deemed the periodic review successful and that they're in compliance in the December of 2019. We phased it into 2 projects. Phase 2 is underway right now, and phase 2 revolves around the modification of conditions of approval that's attached to that conditional use permit. COVID has brought some different things going on, and group size for one. For planning and for my planning commission, right now I have a commission of 5, and 1 member has to recuse himself. So we're down to 4 members right now, and it's a small group, but now we can actually open up and we can meet, but previously we could not. And so we had to do those meetings through Zoom, which were successful. A few hitches, but that's okay, because most of us haven't used Zoom yet. So it was a learning experience, but we had 2 planning commission work sessions, and those averaged 2 to 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours long. That's a lot of time. Those meetings started, I think the earliest we got to start at 5:30. And so it's a lot of time commitment from the individuals, and it's very difficult for this board, because we've never met in this setting, to do those discussions remotely. I think we were very successful. The planning commission hearing is scheduled for Tuesday, June 30th at 6 o'clock. We will meet at the courthouse. We'll get to meet in person for those that want to. I'll make an option to the planning commissioners if they wish to participate through Zoom and not be in person. But at this time, everyone has said they want to be there in person. This is an important thing to go through, and they want to be able to see the visuals and what people are saying. So that's where we are with the phase 2, or the modifications of the conditional use permit. I would like to just put on the record right now that my personal representative that I've been dealing with at Waste Management is Leah Shannon, and she has been phenomenal. She's very interested. She's invested in the community. She's got something personal at stake. She lives here, has lived here, moved away, come back. And so it's been very interesting and very pleasant
to have that connection and working with someone like that who really cares. Right now, we're really trying to go through wordsmithing, and we'll get there. I mean, when it comes down to, should it say shall or must, and a lot of that stuff come out at the hearing. Legal can't always agree on which word, but that'll come out. But Leah has just been tremendous, great benefit for something like this that's been so huge. It's, both her and I have really been shouldering this and trying to move it along. So it's taken a lot of coordination now between the planning commission members and with legal counsel and the team at Waste Management, because there's a team that's involved. So, but we'll get there. And I don't know if it's on your agenda for your next.
I was going to ask you, so what we're looking at in terms of getting this on the court's agenda is possibly moving the second meeting in July to the 22nd, which would be the fourth Wednesday. Yeah, that was what we decided. That way Michelle has sufficient time to be able to do all of the noticing that she's going to have to do after the planning commission wraps up its work.
And the court did extend me through the month of July. And so if it doesn't work for the court to move your meeting, I would ask that maybe you can have a special meeting before July, just for the public hearing. I don't know what's going to happen on the 30th. And I hope we will have a good recommendation at the conclusion of the 30th public hearing, and I will not have to have a subsequent public hearing with the planning commission. If I do, the window's too tight right now to meet your second meeting for advertising, because I have to advertise the Monday, June 29th for the county court's public hearing, and the planning commission meets the 30th. So I think we can always advertise, and if we have to cancel, we can cancel. I prefer not to. I'm asking if the court would consider a special session or moving your second meeting, but that's up for the county court to decide.
I think I am not here that on the 22nd, but if we didn't move the meeting and you just had a special one, I mean, I have to recuse myself.
You have to recuse yourself.
So maybe it would just be a special meeting that worked better than moving on. But we can talk about that.
We'll make it work.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to throw that out there. The calendar is really tight, but either way, we'll make it work, and we'll just if we need to.
Since Leslie's done research stuff on it, we will just have Teresa coordinate with Sherry's in mind. I can do the 22nd.
I don't know why not.
Okay.
My calendar's pretty free most of the time.
We'll sketch that in, and then we'll do the math on
Perfect.
on the noticing and see what we can work out. Okay, good. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Oh, and I also just wanted to point out, the conditional use permit has 23 conditions. So through this process and all these planning commission hearings, right now it's down to potentially eliminating 4 or 5, and yet we're taking some of the 23 and we're combining some of them into one, and then we're pulling some out. So we're still at about a net of 20 conditions. It's been a very enlightening process of how we're going through all of this, and different feedback and positions of why is it important or it's not important. And so just, it may resemble a lot of what it looks like, but there's going to be nuances that will be changing. And so just to give you a heads up, the planning commission staff report that has to be issued by the end of the week is already at 55 pages. And I know the staff report that you saw in December was quite lengthy as well, but this one is
Just a little like reading.
yeah.
Sherry.
So, all right. Just thought I'd let you know you will have some evening reading coming up.
Perfect.
You bet. Thank you for the consideration on that special meeting. I really appreciate that. The next slide I have down is the Oregon Department of Land Use and Development, which is DLCD, and as an acronym. One of the things that DLCD has put out is the state of Oregon heavily regulates exclusive farm use land. And so several years ago, they went through a pilot project of trying to come up with what they refer to as a model code. This is how we're connecting statute with local codes. This is some of the language we are suggesting the counties adopt. The county has a draft of that, and we just haven't gotten through the whole process of adopting all of that into our code. And I think I may have mentioned this before to the county court. The exclusive farm use section is 90% of the Young County Code that we have to do. So it's a large section, and I mean, but you know, over 90% of the land in Young County is exclusive farm use too. So it is highly regulated by the state, and so there are things that have happened since 2011 when the code was last updated for this section. And so some of that hasn't been updated as frequently as it should have been. And so that is a project that's on the radar to try to implement and get some of this up to code. And just so that when I say up to code, just mean the language reflects statute. However, even if it does not, we still refer to the statute. So we're still going according to the process and what the Oregon State statute has said that we need to do for exclusive farm use. Just because the language might not say exactly what the statute says, does not mean I can't follow statute. So we're going to just try to make sure we get all the text language in the Young County Land and Development Ordinance so that it reflects, look more closely to statute. So that is a project on the radar. And then next I have, and these are kind of like future stuff that we're working on, big projects that eventually will get accomplished. It says introduction of new zoning layer to Young County GIS data. And what that refers to is, you can see that there's 7 different zoning layers. And so that's the code sections that I'm referring to. Generally, or quite frequently, I do have individuals call and say, okay, what is my property zone? Or where's your big zoning map, comprehensive map? And can I just click on it? Or is there a GIS layer you can send me? We're probably not over 90% there, but we're just not, I can't say 100% certainty. This is exactly what it is for the industrial land, and this is exactly what it is for the intermodal land. We're getting there quite closely, especially working with the GIS department through Harney County, which the county contracts with now. And I got that connection through the assessor's office, because the assessor's office does use Harney County for some of their mapping. And so I got connected in there through a conversation with the assessor. I'm like, wait a second, can I be using them for some of this stuff? And so it's been a great partnership. And so we're building those layers. And so part of that is also going to be able to document it in paper form and on the computer with certainty as to when it was adopted. So that involves some research and going back into history of when did the county court at the time, and most of this is going to be late 80s, adopt those maps in those areas. Because I did find a map for some industrial land that's out in the Columbia River. And I'm not quite sure why it's in the Columbia River. So obviously we're not going to be doing any industrial development in the Columbia River. The state, for one, will not allow that. So there's just little nuances like that I've been discovering. And so when we get there, that's just a project. And we've got a great resource using the GIS department through Harney County right now.
Awesome.
And then lastly, it says temporary workforce housing opportunity. Really, with COVID and everything going on, and then the responsibility, just when you're talking about now that we're in phase 2 and opening up campgrounds or just Burns Park and all the different things the county itself has to go through, this is just on hold. I'm not even going there. That could create a potential we don't want of encouraging other individuals here right now and being a risk on landowners, which we don't even know what the risk might be inherently, because if they fall under new COVID stuff or doing a campground that's not land use, however, now we have all this new COVID standards. So I'm just putting this one on hold, but it is something eventually that I would like to look at. And part of that twist would be, is there some industrial land that would allow for some temporary like RV parks? So in the future, but right now, I'm just not going there. So this one is really put on the back burner for a while. But we had high hopes before all of this COVID that we would be able to introduce some different language for consideration, but we're just going to put that off right now. Are there any questions from the county court?
Questions from Michelle? I don't think I have any. I don't have any. Very, very good. Thank you.
So this is the second round of staff reports since we've reintroduced it under this new framework. So just seeking any general feedback or questions you have around process, the way we're delivering it. Is that making the information you want to have really accessible to you? Do you want to see something a little different?
I think it's working well.
Yeah, it's working great in public. Is this helpful to hear from our folks about what they're up to, enlightening on what they're, yeah. I'm getting nods for those who are
Yes.
from home.
Gives Tony and I to talk.
Yeah, I mean, again, I just have to commend our staff. Every time they come here, I'm just so proud of the work that they're doing.
Thank you very much.
Good job, guys.
Thank you. Keep it up.
All right, let's go back up. Since we've got our TV co-op folks in the house, let's do 5.1, which is consider Arlington TV co-op request for delay of loan repayment. So to just kind of preface this while they're getting into place, as you all know, the county has a loan for Arlington TV co-op's fiber bill. And that originally, under the original agreement, the first payment was due last June. And they came to us and had asked for a 1-year extension, which we granted. And so the request, which we received a letter, which was part of the packet, thank you, during the last meeting, was a request that we extend that another 12 months because they are still working on getting that customer, that magic number. And so that's the initial request. So if the court decided to move forward today with this, basically we would be looking at needing to edit the promissory note, and that would come back to the court at a later date. So just looking, one, they're gonna kind of talk about where they are and kind of make their pitch, and then depending on what you guys decide, if there's follow-up, then I would bring that back to the court at a later date. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys and let you update us on where you are,
Okay,
how things are going.
well, actually, things are going better. God, I gotta work on my inside voice, I'm sorry. It's all echoey.
Yeah, this room is.
I taught a class here, it was horrible before they put this stuff in, it's a little better now. So financially, and I apologize, I thought that in your staff recommendation, it said there was no documentation supplied with this. I thought it had been sent in, and I thought you had that, so we apologize. These are our most current numbers. Currently, and I'm going to just speak off the top of my head. You can hit me if I'm wrong with the numbers. But roughly 53,000 and change is what we currently have. The proposed loan payment, I believe, is 31 and change. We'll bring our operating funds down to about 22 and change. Yeah, we were here last year. We asked for you to push it back a year. You guys, thank you very much. You were able to do that for us. That tells me that you guys recognize the importance of broadband. You understand that, and that's very good because a lot of people don't understand. I'm good with my AOL, things like that. So, but we are here again, and we haven't been able to hit those numbers that we were projecting. We're running into different types of situations. Primarily, people just aren't wanting correction. They want the service, but they want it in conjunction with something else, or, well, I'll get it at a later date or something. I think here in Arlington, and 2 of your commissioners have our service. Are you guys happy with our internet? Is it fast enough for you? We can make it slower if it's too fast. If you can do that, we can do that too.
Customers in this room.
Oh, excellent. So what I'm saying is, yes, we are a successful service in that we provide the fastest internet around in our area, and we are still progressing, installing that internet. We're trying to improve our options for our customers. We just started our voice over internet phone system. I think it just got introduced, so we might just have a couple people with it, but it's been tested and we've done all the 911 testing, so everything's up and running, and we actually have customers. So we are making progress. We are installing as fast as we can with the money we have. We have 2 paid people and we have 1 volunteer. We sent him onto the houses to do 2 volunteers. Oh, that's true. One that's helping with install. Our IT guy, he is the one that in the middle of the night is going to go, oh, well, this is the problem, fix that, him and John. So in regards to the viability of the service, it's a viable service. We provide a very successful and needed service, especially with this COVID thing. And I've gone over lots of your minutes in the last few months, as well as the fiber committee and Condon. And I'm understanding that you guys think broadband is important. As a matter of fact, at your last meeting, and I typed up the transcript from the last meeting, you guys talk over each other a lot. But it's very good. You know, I think the consensus was in your briefing that, you know, in the future, Congress may, we aren't sure, Congress may be throwing some money at broadband because it's so important. Getting broadband to students and teachers. You brought up teachers with the satellite. They're burning through their internet because their kids are doing their lessons and then they can't do their classes. This is an important thing. Another point that was brought up is, and I think it was Sherry that said, you know, even if the money doesn't get approved by Congress, this is so important to the, and I can show you the thing. This is so important to the county that I think we need to get on board and start making plans before Congress even makes that move. And you know, I'm going to say Leslie because I couldn't put, you know, council commissioner and I couldn't put together for some reason. So it seems like the whole court is excited about broadband and wanting it to succeed. And we want to help you get that done. We are an organic organization in your county, and we can provide that internet for you. And yeah, we've got some financial issues. This has turned into a beast that it was not projected originally. And we are finding different things as we move forward. As we have moved forward, we have found loads of different things where we can change or add to our service plan where we will be able to get, you know, profitable. Right now, our biggest issue is this, our numbers. If we can improve our numbers, that would save the organization. You've come and talked to us twice, once on Zoom and once in person. Since then, our numbers have gone up, I think, 23. From our last meeting, they've gone up 10. And if you compare it to Comcast or whatever, or Gorge, that's not a lot. But for 2 employees and 2 volunteers, that's amazing. In a town of 500 plus, that is amazing. And I think the organization is important enough because we're part of your county. You know, I think it's important that you guys try to help us succeed and make this profitable. I don't want you to make a decision that's fiscally, you know, irresponsible in your eyes, but I think that this program working is more important than that. As a matter of fact, you know, a lot of the meetings, especially with the fiber committee, you've talked about, you know, different entities coming into Condon and you've been looking for ISPs. I did notice, interestingly enough, that we were never mentioned except in one meeting at the fiber committee. And we were mentioned and it said that we were going to be contacted and you were going to contact different ISPs that might want to provide service to Condon. We weren't. And so I'm here to say that, can you have these up there? This is a map of Condon. You can't really, I don't know how, oh, I do, okay, I do have that. There we go. And, oh, excellent. Here you go. So this is a map of Condon, and I apologize that you can't actually see the town because that blue is how much internet we could get in Condon in 4 weeks. We could cover Condon in 4 weeks, you know, and we weren't considered as an ISP. You've had discussions with Gorge, you've had discussions with Oregon Telephone, and, you know, the newspaper, he called me about something else, and he didn't even know we had internet service. Now, that's our problem, because we didn't beat him over the head. But he also said that he's been to most of these meetings, And the only thing that came up was Arlington TV Co-op, they don't provide enough streaming for, customers to be happy, or something to that effect, and that is not a quote, but it's the gist, what I got. Basically, he was under the impression that we didn't either have fast enough or have access to enough internet. This is frustrating to me, because, you're talking with Gorge, you're talking with Oregon Telephone, you're talking with other organizations in all of these minutes. And it's going to cost, money to get them in there, and they're gonna have to worry about all this crap. And these two employees live in your county. They get paid and spend their money in your county. These yahoos from Gorge, I don't know any of them. These guys at Gorge, they don't live here. They might have a tech that will come in and buy a milkshake at the drive-in. They might stop by and go to a meeting of yours and grab a bottle of water at Two Boys and drive home. They're here. Mark is one of our volunteers. He's here. I'm here. This is an organic organization that's providing a regional service that is phenomenal, and it has great potential. And you guys are one step away from being able to make it successful. During that meeting where you came down, one of the suggestions you had was consider selling. And you used the loan, that the money that we owe you, as something that could be used as a selling point for another company, meaning we're going to sell to you, and to make it more attractive, we're going to give you a much better rate on this loan, or wipe away the loan so you'll get a better deal buying this. Dude, sorry. If that's a possibility, then that tells me that you're trying to sell our company out from under your county. And you even brought up, well, talk to GorgeNet about buying the company. And I might be taking your discussion out of context, but I sat there for a real long time, frustrated, and I think I have the gist of it. You weren't maybe pushing that, but you were saying, this is definitely an option if you cannot be fiscally profitable.
Yeah, and I think that's to clarify that, I think the conversation that we had was really to encourage the board, because it's not, you guys have not been paying us, so it's not our loan that's causing the burn rate,
No.
It's the bank's loan. And so my concern is that if there isn't a plan B, that the bank will take this over and they will sell it to whoever they want. And so I think my point to the board was, if you are going to be headed down that road, I would much rather have you guys choose who gets that than have the bank repossess it and sell it to the highest bidder, who may or may not be community minded.
Yes.
So that was sort of my point. It's not that you need to sell it, but that what I really want to avoid is that the taxpayers have put in $1.2 million in this project, not just the loan that's tied up with the grant that came before it. And the worst case scenario that I could see is that either you get in a position where this is an unending black hole that the county just has to keep putting money into, because every year we're this close but not quite there, or in the very worst case scenario, you lose it entirely, the bank takes it over, the county's money is gone because we're in second position, as well as the one, the grant on top of it. It goes to somebody who doesn't even use it for service here. And then we're out money and we don't have internet service.
Yes. And thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
And so I think everything we can do to help a service survive that's already here, that's doing good work. Our plan B, I feel that right now, fiscally, we're kind of in a hole. It's time for something bold. It's time for something different. It's time for something where we need to take a chance. If we don't, we're going to slowly just drown. And I don't want that. I don't want to lose my fast internet. That's the selfish side of it. You know, I'm coming from Portland where it's like really fast when you get out here. So something bold would be to move in. What are we short? We're short people. Condon would fix that. Condon would also solidify in your voting constituents a good feeling that, you know, look, the county court helped bring fast internet to Condon. That map, that's all wireless. That's not even counting wired. That's 2 jumps, well, 1 jump, and putting the transmitters up on the grain truck. And we've already got an okay to do that if we would get permission. The one step in the middle is near a resident's home, which we don't feel will be an issue. In addition, one of the other things that you guys have talked about is not only getting internet to downtown Condon proper, but also to the people outside Condon. This would allow us, during that run up to Condon, we can put up transmitters that will hit Michaelo, that will hit outside Condon, and we'll be able to do all of that. Granted, there are some details in the way, but the cost is roughly $3 grand. The time frame, 4 to 5 weeks. And all that blue area could be covered.
Do you even, for something like that, I mean, you wouldn't even need to have relays in between because there's the county owns a fiber line.
Well, and this was without that, because that was gonna be my argument if you didn't like the idea. Because, you know, yeah, you own 48 fiber, I've done all the reading. You own 48 fibers and you were having some difficulty finding people to lease those. And we will have no problem wanting to do that because that certainly helps, you know, with the run. Because jumps, if we get horrible wind, if we get whatever, we would still put up jump points just so we could provide service to those customers. That's always been our plan. But a straight shot underground to Condon, that would be much easier and more maintenance free. But, you know, it can be done.
So let's talk numbers just a little bit, because this is math. When we talked before, I think you guys were at a burn rate, remind me, it's fluctuated. I think when we first met, you guys were maybe closer to 9, and then maybe you had it down to 6.
We're down to.
Yeah, I think we fluctuated between about 6, maybe
Yeah,
around 7.
6365 right now.
Okay,
Depends on whether that you spend money.
No,
which is not right now, right?
you don't want to be paid. He's voluntary.
I was always getting Shannon up here.
And in the 53, we'd also talked, but remind me, when you guys pulled back the TV component, and there had been
I'll put that back.
so that's in the 53.
As a matter of fact, that's for the year numbers, there's a minus 31,000 in the equipment cost. That's because of that.
Okay. And so you said about 6,500 is what you're burning? That would?
6 to 7, I think is an average.
Okay. So I mean, the first thing, and I know these numbers will get better, but that only gets you, I mean, if you've got 53,000, that's only getting you 8 months. So again, back to our plan B, when you at month 9 and the bill comes due to the bank, how are we paying for that? Are you guys, I mean, because here's my thing, and I'll just be very blunt about it. I don't want to see this being a never-ending hole. The county keeps writing checks for over and over again.
No.
So I'm willing to consider extending this because it's money out there, and if that helps us not lose the investment long-term, it's not like we need the money back tomorrow kind of thing. But what I'm concerned about is if there is not a solid plan underneath this number, you are going to be out of money in 8 months.
This is where the bold action comes in, because you're right. It would whittle away and it would die. This is why bold action's needed. You know, yeah, we could fail and it might not work. And then we're gonna come up here and we're gonna look like crap and we're gonna say, yeah, we failed. And you guys are going to be angry at us and you'll be frustrated. But the point is, we tried. But we aren't going to fail. What we need are numbers with the money that it would take to make that hop to condo. $3,000 or whatever the actual number is minuscule. I'm so sorry. It's minuscule. And, oh, that better not be 911. No. Okay. It's minuscule in the great scheme of things, but if it succeeds, honestly, 600 plus people in Condon, I don't know what the numbers are who has any type of internet, but it covers the town proper. And just looking at numbers, we would be able to get to a point where potentially we could be, I almost said popular, we could be profitable. That excites me.
At a cost of about, if it were to cost us $3,000 to get it going in Condon, we would need only 50 customers paying $59 a month to recoup that initial cost back.
And then from there, we would be in the black or very close to it.
So customer wise, remind me what your break-even point is.
Our break even was 245 customers.
And right now we've got 154.
And I think I just ran the numbers in.
And those are residential.
Those are
Right,
well, there's some
some
few
businesses,
businesses,
yes.
but
So your commercial should, those
Our
are a
commercials,
little bit higher
yeah.
rate.
Yes.
commercials double.
But is your break-even number, was that based on households or was that based on a combination of the two?
Based on
Households, okay.
same way.
Yeah, and again, all of the homes here in Arlington, with the exception of the trailer parks, are all hardwired in. That's what takes forever, and that's what eats up time. It takes half a day because you've got to do splicing, and then we do some excellent customer service. We go in and set it up in their house. Comcast would never do that. Courts won't do that, for at least unless you're paying. So yeah, that part takes time, but if we're talking a wireless system, it's much less. And in those instances, you may have a setup where customers can set up their own stuff. And so under 50 people would be amazing. Right now, we've got a number, I think it's 9 people that have boxes already wired to their house. They just don't have it inside. So we're running a special where if you people with the boxes already there, if you want to get it activated, we'll give you 2 months free service.
Okay, there's 27 that have fiber to the house, and I'll give them 60.
Oh, okay. And we're also, you know, in Condon, we want to do something like that. You know, our first customer, you can get a month or two. We're playing with numbers, and you can be a part of that. But we're wanting to do some things to get customers. A lot of it here, we've hit a wall because the people that use it for work, for whatever, for video game, they have it. It's convincing those people that all I do is check email, but you could. They just don't know that yet. And so that's hard to push against. Going into a new, you know, a new demographic, it would be wide open. I think this could be amazing. I think it would do gangbusters for the co-op. I think it would make you guys look amazing. As if you don't already. But I think most importantly, as a taxpayer in the community, our money is going to stay here in Gilliam County. We're not going to be giving it to George. We're not going to be giving it to people that all they care about this county is that we're going to do internet, or we've got X number of units. We have people. We provide customer service that is amazing. I've had George. They suck. The fastest internet they can provide here in Arlington, I know, they're here to police me. The fastest internet here we can get in Arlington, that's if they can get a straight shot to your house, is 10 megs, period. They're talking about 20 period. And that's all we know yet, but, you know,
And that's the download speed.
yeah, and that's the download. The upload speed is way slower. Doing asynchronous or synchronous, ours are up and down are the same. You guys have been doing Zoom. You're talking and then maybe somebody's stuttering or fading out. That's because the upload speeds are horrible.
Brad Anderson.
So the whole fact that our service is also different and better, I'm not even talking to the company, I'm saying the model we're using is better technology.
Can I say something too?
Yeah, please.
I just feel that we're not just any company. And I know, looking at the history of the court, there's been some failures in some areas. Our only failure that we've had is that we never had enough money from the start. Never had it. So we've always needed time to be able to get the customers going. And, you know, I know in this room there are 8 customers, and to me, because as a volunteer, all I get out of this is a smile on somebody's face. And every single customer that I put in, that's what I get to see it. And they're individually, every one of them is a success story for this county too. You don't get that from Columbia or CenturyLink. We've worked on their stuff. We've seen their wires across the ceiling. And in the end, it's going to take time. It's going to take time and money. The frustrating part is we've always needed more help. But if we don't pay John enough for one thing, so you're getting so much for so little. We're always, you got Dave Nice after all the time. He was getting paid for all of this, be a fortune. We're saving in so many ways to bring something to this county. And we're being told it's a vital infrastructure out there. It's common. We were sent a letter from the government asking us to give free internet service to, low-income families that need it in their homes for school system. That's how important it is. We're not anything like that. We've done some of that. And it's just, we've always kind of felt like our relationship in some ways with the court was begging for money. And that's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. And I've put almost 3 years of my life on this. And I'll continue to do it. But if it reached the point where we turn it over to Columbia Board, or CenturyLink or something that, wow, I've actually worked on this project because of their poor quality that they put in these homes. Now I'm going to be the one that puts the good quality and that they're going to benefit from. That hurts. And so I don't want to be treated like any other business. We're a nonprofit. I want to be treated like we're part of the county. We're part of trying to make a difference, just like some of you building roads would be. We're trying to do this, and we do need your help. And it involves time, it involves money. We need more people. But if we hire one person, we pay them not even probably the wage they deserve, we would set ourselves back about 50 customers a month. We can't do that. So what you're going to see out of this, we're going to see growth. And, we talk about customers. I pretty much every week I go to work and help. And I feel like there's always something to do. So I know that I don't get weak or sit where we don't need you. I know I need it. And I can think of things myself we can do. So that curve is always going to be up. It's always going to be up. But it's not going to be like this. Let's be this.
And this would be a wonderful puzzle piece into, the fiber committee that you guys have. I can read the IGA what their stated needs are. We can help with that. And we can save a boatload of money for you guys out searching and running, bids and all of that.
Have you got to the fiber committee?
I didn't even know about it officially, and it's the Condon and Gilliam County Court Fiber Committee, so I don't believe anyone here was asked. And the openings that did come up, I don't know if they were, put out by word of mouth or letter or in the newspaper, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, and to be clear, there's two separate, so the fiber committee is actually a city-run thing. that
Partnering with the county
Well,
itself.
I sit on it, and that actually is totally city-run. The fiber council, which is a separate, that's the IGA we have, is just to manage the fiber line that we have coming in.
But
Just to be clear, on the record for folks who
Yes,
are curious about the two.
but in the minutes, it certainly sounds like there is a very close relationship, and that's fine. I would argue that there's a pretty close to expert fiber guy in the county that's actually working with it on a day-to-day basis with 100 people, and he's sitting at this table with me. And, he would have been a really good resource there. Yeah, but see, this, regardless of whether we're part of it, we can be an answer to their needs and your needs. Reading through the minutes, well, we're going to get fiber to City Hall and this and that, but we're working on these details. We're an organization, a nonprofit in your county. I don't have, stockholders or anybody to answer to. I can provide a service to you that is beneficial to us, beneficial to you, beneficial to Condon, and more importantly, beneficial to the residents of all of the cities. And it answers most of the needs that you guys have in the IGAs and the minutes, and I think it is a phenomenal opportunity.
So, questions from the commissioners? You guys have questions for them?
I think I've been asking them as we go. They've been good.
Leslie, you have
Well,
any?
I had some written down, but I think they've been answered.
Just been in the dialogue covered. So I'll just put this to you guys on what your general feeling is. I'm looking for some direction on if you wanted to extend the length of that extension, and if not, then how you want to proceed.
Well, first of all, there's no way we want you to fail. That's not why we're here. Absolutely not. Your enthusiasm and your knowledge and, what you're doing is, I want it to succeed. And yeah, I use your service because it's great. And the personal service that you talk about is very important.
Would you mind saying that again? Here's an ad, look.
So, with the hope that, what you can see will get us over the bump, and that you continue to reach out and try to make that happen. I would like to see us help them succeed.
So you're in favor of extending it for a year?
Well, I think at this point, yes, and then, see where we're at again.
Okay, listen, you.
When you mentioned Dave, that's
Yeah,
your brother?
That's my brother.
Okay, talking about customer service, you've been at my house late.
Yeah.
On the phone with Dave.
Yeah.
Who's volunteering, so I think customer service it's just a completely different experience than that we will get with the
I'm still trying to cancel my Comcast, and I've been here 7 years.
And then Dave he started out just working with me, then he drug the library into it.
The library paid him though.
He's involved with his ham radio group in Astoria. They're doing radios to the hospitals in the area so that the big earthquake comes, which he says it will come. Not yet, but then he says they'll be able to provide them with minimal internet. So he's been working on that, and then I got him tied with another ISP who's in the area too that does wireless. So he started working for him. He's gotten on a committee down there to try to get rural internet for the people in that area. And yeah, he's just been really getting on this internet thing. And he's got so much going that he still makes time for it. It may be late at night, but he still makes time for it. And I've never stopped at, well, my wife tries to stop me at staying down here till all hours of the night. Some people wonder why those yellow flashing lights are outside their house. Yeah. I'm here, I'm putting everything I can into it. And, you know, Condon's great too, because maybe I won't have to drive into Arlington for the day's work. Mark can drive up to Condon.
Colleen, did you?
Well, I was just gonna say, a couple weeks ago, there were flashing lights up the street, and it was John, and he was there till midnight.
Oh, it's later than that.
I saw you there.
I got home at 4 that morning.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You weren't actually carrying it either, you were putting one in.
I was doing some stuff for the contract.
Jack, did you have something?
Yeah, I believe they were working on me that way. I just want to say that we're in COVID and everything else, and they had some problems with the number of pairs of businesses downtown. Technically, I understand all that about it. I ordered a while back, internet from both businesses, which I had planned on the first one in, and we couldn't get the second one. So with COVID, we ended up moving the deli kitchen over into the dining room space and ran a little bit of stuff for a while. We ran going into the pheasant for a while. Then after 2 years, we moved over the internet that was set up at the deli. They did it immediately, moved it over to the pheasant and got me set up there. Then the hurdle became that I needed to split them back up and move back and do short repairs to do what they need to do on this late. And my comparison for you to understand is I called CenturyLink because I needed to hook up. I was in kind of panic. And Don worked real hard for the Friday night. I remember up from the morning to weekend, trying to get it hooked up. And we got back in Tuesday after Memorial Day and Tuesday night we hooked up. And we just ran back and forth across the street and entered credit cards and did what we had to do with the POS to make it work for a few days. But the effort was really good, and the guys going, and I've got a house full of businesses now, and never had a problem with it. But the other thing is that I called CenturyLink in the middle of this, 10 days. It was going to be 10 days to get the deli hooked up. Re-hooked up. I had it there before, so it was 10 days for it to get it. So I appreciate it. We can use John.
So Leslie, I think I missed. Are you on board? What was your?
Yeah, I am in favor of an extension.
Okay, for
a year.
Okay.
Mayor, before you vote, and I might sink myself here.
We're not.
Well, oh, you got a consensus. Oh, well, then you can finish that, then I want one more.
So I'm in favor of it as well. I would support that. Again, I think causing them to go into the red by paying us actually makes us lose the loan because you won't cover the bank loan and they'll take it if that happens. So it doesn't make sense to do that. I think the county would be shorted. But I think it's really important that we really be aggressive over the next year about getting that number, right? Because at some point, this cushion that you have is going to go completely. And then there's going to be a harder question about, does the county sustain this long term? How does that look? Is that, and so I would like to not have to have that conversation, to Mark's point. I would like for you guys to not have to come back and say, can you extend it again? And so I think what I would ask is just the expectation be that if we extend it, that we really create either a schedule or something where we're really working together. And I'm happy to do that, to continue meeting with you guys one-on-one, to make sure that we're moving forward and you guys are hitting the numbers. So that this time next year, you guys are coming in and saying, we're good, we're ready to make our first payment, everything looks good. So if that's kind of where I'm thinking is that, I want to be helpful on this piece, and we can definitely be But if you're gonna succeed, you've gotta hit those numbers, and that's all our goal, right? And so if we can help you get to that, I'd like to be part of that, I guess is what I'm saying. So based on that, just for my housekeeping, what I will do is I will go back to legal counsel and have them look at the promissory note and just update that. I think that when they did this last time, it was just a very simple amendment that they sent back. But what we generally say to people is our legal counsel gets a little bit backed up, and so we will not be expecting a check from you. It may take a month or two to actually get the legal documents back from our legal counsel. Does that make sense?
So and my final thing is, you have made some progress talking with other ISPs and such. I would really like to request that you start throwing us into the mix, because we can't just go turn on Condon just because. We're gonna need the support of the court and perhaps some kind words to the city of Condon, because, you know, we want to be aggressive. We want to get all these numbers. We want to get everybody in Condon awesome internet, but we're gonna,
I'd like to.
Or John would like his own service at his house. But since there's been progress made in other areas not considering us, there needs to be, I don't know if it's walking back, but it certainly is making sure we're aggressively part of, and you mentioned being a team, I think we would really like to be part of that.
Okay.
Because I think we may not be able to beat all the costs overall, but I think our service and our, services we provide hand in hand with our costs, I think it blows the other providers, at least the ones that you talked about, completely out of the water. I really do.
If we could make some effort for the entire county and not just our cities.
Oh, no, that's why we will eventually
I've
do
already
the
talked
job.
to a couple landowners about sites on their properties to get rock creek building. And we are working with MCP for Michael. At that point, I'll be able to pick up people there too. So we're looking at the in-between. I've had people from Blaylock ask me. I said that's a little more difficult, but yes, I will put it on the works. I'm trying to do it in a way that minimizes the latency and the lag that's in it. I want our service to be top notch. But yeah, and it's still kind of a learning experience with me for the radios, but I do have other people to fall back on that can tell me the right things.
Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so I will follow up. That will come back as soon as we get it back from council. I'll send it to Eugene, so hopefully that'll come back a little bit faster. Anything else for these folks today? Thank you guys for coming. We'll be in touch as soon as I get the documents back. And then let's touch
Any
base.
hard work.
Yes.
Appreciate your
And then let's touch base about getting you guys, if you're interested in having access to the county's fiber line. I mean, that sounds like that's the next conversation if you want to branch into Condon. So that's an easy conversation to have.
I have the fiber sitting outside my building right now for problems.
So we can drive down there with you guys and do it there.
Like that.
Let's do it. We can teach you guys how to pick it up.
Oh, boy.
Thank you all.
I don't know.
Thank you.
Yes, I don't crawl into houses. I do. Mark likes to do that.
Okay, guys, so let's go on. We are almost done. Into 7.0 announcements. Next meeting. You guys have anything?
I have a North Form meeting tomorrow at 10, so that I will, but they're going to go into the building, but I'm going to do a virtual meeting. I'm going to stay home.
Cool. Anybody else? Anything?
No, but I do that.
Nothing pressing. So I do have, next week is the Frontier Telenet budget hearing. We should be wrapping that up. We also got bids back for the towers, the Roosevelt Tower and Cottonwood Tower. So we should hopefully be hiring a project manager for those. And, next regular meeting is July 1st. That is in Condon. For the commissioners, the staff is doing a little red, white, and blue celebration. So they are all, if you're in the courthouse, we look very festive. All the doors are going to be decorated. So anyway, we're going to have lunch with the staff. So if you guys can plan on sticking around and hanging out, that would be awesome.
And voting.
I'm voting on the best store.
On the best store.
On the best store. And then, we will figure out for the second meeting, it sounds like you're not going to be here the 22nd.
Right.
Okay. So we would likely still keep it on the 15th, and then Sherry and I will do a special on the 22nd.
Library pass.
Could I get a little clarification on behalf of the
Sure.
please? Your 4.3, I believe. Approval of intergovernmental agreement for steel funding for, library. Is this something you are going to be doing in committee or in your?
No, so the consent agenda is something that we typically put things on consent when we've discussed it before. It's non-controversial and it just needs to go.
Right.
And so it was approved.
Oh,
So I will.
Can you clarify for us, because we'd like to take it back to our board?
Yeah, so it's approved, and as soon as I get back to the office, we'll sign it, and then we'll send it over to, the city for the mayor's signature, and then it'll be done.
So we'll be a line item.
You are a line item officially. We went ahead and.
So the city agreed also?
The city has not formally approved it, but the city's council has signed off on the bid. So, and I have instructed them that we're not doing another version, so they need to take it or leave it. So I think they will take it because we've met all of their requests in the draft. So, but yes, you have a line item. It's under, you'll see when the budget is printed, there's a public library line item for the Gilliam County one, and you have a specific line item. This is, I think, Arlington Library in there. So,
Thank you very much.
yes, so you are set. Yes, and then typically, just so you know, our books are still open and will be usually through July. And so come August-ish is when we start cutting checks for the next fiscal year. So.
We're just glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're in the budget, and I think I need to go back and look, but I think the initial term was 5 years, and it can extend for another 5. So for at least the next 10, you're in the line item. So.
That's
Anything else that is in order? Okay, guys, we went over our 2 hours by 15 minutes. It's 12:17, and I will adjourn the meeting.